Zimbabwe, a Shona translation for House of Stones, lies in southeastern Africa. This landlocked country is bordered by Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, and South Africa. A flattish watershed exists between the Limpopo River in the south and the Zambezi flowing in the north. Zimbabwe's 17.4 million people use 16 official languages. 70% speak Shona, while 20% converse in Ndebele. English is used in business, government, and school instruction. Zimbabwe's flag is green, yellow, black, red, and white. These colors stand for vegetation, minerals, the population majority, bloodshed during liberation, and peace. The World Day of Prayer artwork, created by Zimbabwean artist Nonny Mathe, shares some similar themes. Vegetation represents potential agricultural and economic productivity. The upper background speaks for the nation's transition from a dark, difficult past to a more prosperous and promising future. The bottom composition expresses love, healing, and reconciliation as inspired by John chapter 5, verses 2 through 9a. Climate varies with altitude, but the whole country typically has a dry season from May to September. The average daytime temperature in the capital city of Harare is 24 degrees Celsius during this period, with some nights approaching 0. Heavy rains fall from November to March, which encourages generous tree growth, especially in mountainous areas. More intense heat follows between mid-March and mid-November. Zimbabwean ground cover is predominantly savanna, with diversified farming in the eastern highlands area. Familiar trees include the mahogany and cotton. The national flower is the flaming lily. Elephants, buffaloes, hippopotamuses, and giraffes are common wildlife. Snakes and lizards abound, as well as 500 species of birds. Sadza, the national dish, is made from cornmeal. Other traditional foods include peanuts, squash, and cucumbers. Beef and goat are among the meats consumed. During the summer, dried spiny caterpillars may be sold by the pound at summer markets. Major tourist attractions of Zimbabwe are the Victoria Falls, one of the 7 wonders of the world, Matobo Hills, and the Great Zimbabwe Monument, a unique testimony to Bantu civilization. Bantu farmers arrived in Zimbabwe around 2,000 years ago. Sophisticated trade states developed many centuries later in time for the arrival of Portuguese explorers. By the 1890s, the territory underwent a systemic purge of land and rich natural resources from the indigenous population by Cecil Rhodes and the British South Africa Company. A lengthy insurrection followed. In 1965, Rhodesia issued a unilateral declaration of independence, which the UN did not recognize until 1979. ZANU leader Robert Mugabe became the first democratically elected leader of an independent Zimbabwe in 1980. He was in power for 37 years before removal by military intervention. A homegrown constitution was established in 2013. Zimbabwe, with a high literacy rate of 84%, declared access to education a basic human right in 1980. All provinces have primary and secondary schools, technical colleges, vocational training centers, and both private and public universities. Education is not free, which affects access in some rural areas. Mining is the major industry in Zimbabwe, followed by agriculture. The economy has shrunk significantly in recent years due to an import-export imbalance, political upheaval with the land reform program, industry closures, and a multi-currency system adopted to stem hyperinflation. Zimbabwe's 2013 constitution recognized gender equality, including the reservation of 60 parliament seats for women. However, gender inequity is real, persistent, and often violent in everyday life. Women and girls suffer systemic disadvantages and discrimination, especially if poor, living in rural areas, or coming from particular social groups. Girls face early marriage and barriers to education, while women deal with legal discrimination in family law. Poor maternal health services are ongoing challenges. A UN-funded survey in 2014 reported that 1 in 4 children live with neither parent. AIDS and HIV are driving forces behind children being forced to head families or stay with impoverished grandparents. To help counter this health epidemic, Zimbabwe rolled out Option B, whereby HIV-positive mothers receive antiretroviral drugs for life. Christianity, introduced to the indigenous population in the 14th century, is the major religion at 80%. 20% practice Islam, African traditional religion, and Judaism. Churches made public statements in 1980 to help ensure Zimbabweans found their political and economic way peacefully during independence. World Day of Prayer has evolved since 1962, when 2 Zimbabwean church leaders saw a need for ministerial wives to meet and strengthen one another in doing God's work. This interdenominational committee grew as women learned the great power of prayer and helping the needy. In 2020, we pray with all Zimbabwean women as they continue their journey to all elements of peace.